Okay,
Hi
yep.
guys, how are you?
Good.
Hey,
How are you?
good.
Good. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Congratulations on Bloody Axe Wound. What a fun, wild, cool, gay movie. Very much up my alley from Dread Central, obviously. But I wanted to hear from both of you, starting with Sari. What was your experience with horror films coming in? Not being in them, but like watching them, interacting with horror. Were you a fan? What was your experience with
So
them?
I would say I am a huge scaredy cat. Let's just start
Hell
there.
yeah.
I was just saying that like Midsummer is probably my favorite horror film, or like in
Oh,
that
sweet.
because it takes place in broad daylight. I'm learning that I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to the dark. But I, of course, have always like, I like in terms of like acting, I've always wanted to do that sort of like horror genre. Like
Yeah.
it's really fun to act scared and like kind of access these emotions that you don't normally get to. Hopefully on like a daily basis. Yeah, so I felt like Bloody Action was like the perfect blend of like something I've always wanted to sort of explore with like things that I've done because I come from like the comedy world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Wally, what about you? I know that you've been in like Dexter and Evil, but like, what about
Yeah,
This
watching
I
ain't
the
her first
know.
horror?
rodeo.
It's so funny. Like I don't know how I really like kind of slipped into this genre. But yeah, I think like we said earlier, like Cabin in the Woods is probably one of my favorite horror films. Like I just like it's such a clever to me like twist on the genre, and I think like that's what I really liked about our script, and I think what really drew me to it is that it's it's like it's more than just like a slasher movie. I think like this premise, when I heard about it, I was like, this is so cool. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen a horror film like it. And it also, I think what's really fun about it is I think this movie like definitely knows what it is, and I think that it's really embraced that aspect of it.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and sorry, you talked about coming from the comedy world, and I feel like this movie melds comedy really well with the horror aspects. And something I've talked about a lot with other actors is that similarity between comedy and horror, like so much more than you would think in terms of like the cathartic release and all that. So I was curious from your perspective, and you too, Molly, about like that similarity between comedy and horror, and if that was something you really found and got to dig into while being in this film.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I don't know. Like when you mentioned this, it reminds me of like conversations I'd have with Matt, our director.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about pacing and like trying to come up with words that like encapsulated like Abby's like pace and Abby's like journey. And
Yeah.
something that we kept coming back to was like this word bouncy, like bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. And I think it's interesting because I think that word can be used to describe both horror and comedy at the same time.
Yeah,
I do
no, for
think there's
sure.
something to the timing of like comedy is all in threes, and I would also think that like horror is like that as well. Like I agree, like kind of what you're mentioning with like that cathartic release of like, like there's that stressful moment, there's like silence, and all of a sudden it like hits. And it's like a similar thing of like when you get to the punchline.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think there are similarities between the two.
cool. Yeah. And
Molly
Molly,
would
in
do
your
our
Yeah.
sharing.
experience, yeah.
Yeah, I think pacing is the key to like really success in really anything, but I think especially like um you can't just like death, 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 death. You have to have beats of something else or else none of it hits anymore. And that's like
Yeah.
it's like what Sari was saying with comedy. Like you have to let the joke land, ruminate a little bit, and then you can do a second beat of that. And I think that like it just like it also I think like, it to me it just makes the film more enjoyable too. Like that it's not like,
All scary.
it's not real.
Yeah, the levity makes the scary moment scarier, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and those gore moments in this movie, like the impact that these like I was not expecting some of the especially like at the beginning, like it's gnarly. And I love that right off the bat. it is just disgusting. And the comedy, I think, mixes really well with how gory this movie is. It's a really good balance, I feel like.
I think my favorite kill comes in the cheerleaders room, and I'll leave it at that.
I know. Oh my God. When we were on set when that was happening, I remember, and me and Molly were like fascinated by, we won't give too much away, but like shout out to the special effects team
It's
because
really crazy. Like it is so crazy how much they did with the special effects. I was blown away by it.
I feel
it's
like gives
that
you a
and
newfound.
also
Oh,
oh
sorry.
sorry. I was gonna say that death and Margot's sweet Margot's death, which comes at a later different point.
Yeah.
It must give you such a deeper appreciation for horror. Even if you don't watch it or like love it, it's got to give you such a deeper appreciation for the craft. Just to see people make these things. It's crazy, isn't it? Just to see what people are able to make with like so it's wild.
How much work goes into every part of it, not even like just the special effects, but like even just like
Yeah.
our set deck and like props that we had.
Molly,
Like
your room is
my room
Oh,
was fucking
the
her
cool.
room.
phone. The
I
phone. I was like, I need one. It's like the hamburger phone in Juno. I was like, all
Yeah,
right, another phone that I need in my life.
crazy. And like it was also, I'm pretty sure it was the first time that I had had a room that was built for me on like a stage. And I was like, it was the coolest thing ever. They gave me my headboard. I got like a couple of like the posters and stuff that were up there. I was also coincidentally moving into a new apartment right after it ended. So
Perfect.
I needed some things.
Well, thank you both so much. I have to wrap, but it was lovely to get to chat with you a little bit about Bloody Axeman. Congratulations. This film is such a blast. So I'm
Thank you
excited for
for
people to get to
watching.
see it.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.